Defining Alara, a safe space where authors, artists and creatives share their world-building style and mindfulness tactics. Brought to you by Bushland Castle Productions, a micro-publisher with an author support platform that nurtures creative growth and storytelling excellence. Hello and welcome to Season 3, Episode 5, Part 2 of my interview with Lexy Delorme. This is the world building episode, and today I will stumble over the bio, share a warm greeting, and then we start our conversation. After a bit, we talk about the treasure chest, followed by fast-fire questions, and then linking to Alara. After the summary, we do the treasure chest update, and then close off the show. A quick update from the team at Bushland Castle Productions. We have started to name drop all of the books in the Otherworldly Emergent series. So if you're following on socials, make sure you like, share and subscribe to stay up to date with all the information. After all the names are out, I'm going to share the hooks without giving the book reference straight away. So keep an eye out for that. Please note that during this conversation, we do talk about mature content. I don't think that there's anything particularly offensive that stands out, but I did want to mention it. After the interview, there was a chat we had about publishing, and I wanted to share it with you, even though it doesn't technically fall under the world building spec. So I hope you enjoy hearing more about Lexy's journey. LS Delorme is an award-winning author of the Limerent Series, a genre-defying collection of emotionally charged novels which include Caio, Bright Midnights, Fanning Fireflies and Ghosting Academy. Her book Caio won a finalist spot in the International Book Awards for cross-genre fiction. Bright Midnights was named a Publishers Weekly BookLife Editor Choices pick and was a finalist Golden Wizard Award competition in 2024. Fanning Fireflies won first place for paranormal fiction in the Firebird Awards. With a background as a lawyer, pop musician and science writer, Lexy brings intellectual depth and lyrical prose to every story she tells. Lexy is a wanderer and storyteller at heart, raised as a military brat by United States Navy captain. She has lived on 3 continents across 4 countries, 9 states and 21 cities. Now based in Paris, she lives with her charming French husband and 2 very cool sons. Lexy is an active member of the British Fantasy Society, the Science Fiction Writers Association, Romance Writers of America, the Horror Writers Association, IBPA, and ALLi. Okay, we're running on time here.
Cool.
We will start our world building questions. Welcome back. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. It's been a minute.
Yep. We're breathing. We're good. I've had some Coke.
She's using Coke as an alternative to tea, guys. Just so you know.
Yeah.
So let's just get straight into it. What does world building mean to you, and where do you start with your world building?
Interestingly, what it means to me is basically that. I mean, I want a world that I build. I want to know it from the molecular level up. That's my level of, I'm not quite like Mishner. I'm not going to actually put that on paper. I'm not going to take you back to the birth of Hawaii, but I want to know it at that level. I want to understand how it works. So it took me 5 years to do world building for this series before I even started writing anything at all. But in terms of what drives the world building for me, it's the characters. So characters kind of just come into my head and introduce themselves. And I don't know what they come from necessarily. They're just almost like they're not there, then they're there. Or the flicker of them is there. And then I try to build that out. And then I ask myself, what world would they live in? And I try to build that out further. This is very true for some of the characters, some of the early characters that I imagined. One of them was Clovis from Bright Midnights. One was Amelie from Bright Midnights. And one was Caio from
Interesting.
Caio.
So do you start with a specific element when you're focusing on the world building itself, or the magic systems?
So I can tell you exactly where I started thinking of the character of Caio, because it's an easy one for me to tie back to. I was sitting in my kitchen when I was in law school. I was actually making a sandwich, and the other room was one of those talk shows where it's like they're talking about sensationalist stuff. And they were talking about this situation where a teacher had had sex with her student, and he was really young, and they were discussing, and I'm sitting there making my sandwich and going, ugh, And then someone came on and they started talking about the psychological aspect of this and the nature of love and the nature of attraction and how that changes based on what you believe from a religious perspective. And I walked out into the kitchen to watch this, and it wasn't a psychologist, it was the kid talking. And I was like, oh my God. That made me think, what would it be like to live for a really long time but not change externally, not have that people know? So like if you're 65, you don't want to be having a relationship with an 18-year-old. Even if you look 18, you're not that age. And so I had that concept for like a character like that. And then later, recently, I saw something, it was just recently, about there's diseases where it freezes your aging of your body at about 8 or 9. There's a woman on Instagram who's like that. Her name's Ray. But she's in her 20s and she's dating a guy in his 20s. The internet is on fire about, oh, he's awful, he's a pedophile. And she's 26, right? Is she supposed to date an 8-year-old? So it's like this notion of what you are inside and how what you are changes over time. And what if your body doesn't match? What if your body looks much older than it's supposed to? What if your body looks much younger? How do you walk through time based on that? And how will we as a society change how we see things as longevity starts taking off? So that character was in my head for a while. Then the character of Sarah, who's the point of view character in Caio, came as she was a bit of a love letter to me, from me to some of my friends who were in horrible relationships, who I kept thinking, how can I get them out of this relationship? Like, is there something I can do? And realizing that for a few of them, they were not strong enough to walk themselves out. But if someone came along who could be a catalyst, it might work. That's how those things came together.
The concept of the non-aging person obviously harkens to what people would think of as vampires, but you don't have all the negatives of the blood addiction and everything like that. And then, I don't know if you've seen this movie In Time. It's got Justin Timberlake in it.
Yes, I have.
And they are all young.
Yeah.
They all look exactly the same age, but they're actually all different ages with their time elements attached to them.
I'm fascinated by the concept of time. In my series itself, I think we all, in writing, particularly if you're writing fiction, you're writing in a way to answer your own questions. That's part of what I think drives people to write. And my big questions as a human are about consciousness. And so this whole arc moves towards that and looking at that, defining it. What does it mean? How do we define it? Where does it exist versus where it doesn't exist? But I bring these concepts up within relationships and within how people interact with each other. So time is very impactful in my stories. Consciousness is very impactful in my stories. Gravity is a huge concept within the books. In Bright Midnights, the themes on Bright Midnights are about attraction, good, bad, ugly. But that also includes chemical attraction and attraction in a physics perspective. So it's all kind of looking at that same kind of concept. Sorry, I wandered.
It's really, really quite fascinating. So I'm definitely going to get this book as soon as we get off this call, I think. Just so listeners know, there is beautiful foiled editions. She can't send them over to me at the moment, so I'll have to just get the ones off Amazon or her website.
My website, not Amazon.
Okay, so can you please describe, you got to pick one of your stories. I know you've got so many out, so just pick one of your stories, and that's going to be the focus for today's world building discussion. Do you want to stick with Caio, or?
Let's stick with Caio for now.
Stick with Caio.
Actually, no, we should do Bright Midnight since that's the book we're giving away.
That is a brilliant idea. Yes. And you're giving it away as part of the treasure chest, and the keyword is Flint. Okay, so can you please describe the world in general for us?
So it's kind of urban fantasy from the perspective. It seems to be set in a U.S. high school. It's in basically modern day. There is a girl named ALLi who is 17, 18. You learn from the beginning of the book is that she is somebody who had something very bad happen to her when she was 11, when her hormones kicked in and people started being attracted to her in an uncontrollable way. So she lives her life keeping masks up and keeping people at a distance to keep that from happening, to keep all of the energy of herself inside. And
is it a pheromone sort of thing? So even if she puts makeup on, people are still getting attracted to her? Oh, that sucks for her. Yeah,
and that's what's interesting is so many people in that, I've had people go, oh, that would be great. And I'm like, no, it's not great. like that would be terrible. It extends to members of her family.
Oh.
So it's horrible. And she's learned how to hold it in, but she's starting to break. Like she's starting to have cracks in it and it's starting to seep out. And that's where we meet her. And the very first prologue of this book talks about a kid who also, you find out later, also has abilities and such, but he becomes a shooter and shoots up a school. And it relates to a virus. There's a viral stuff that happens through all this series as well. So her goal in the beginning of this, she's in this high school. It's a high school for rich kids. There's a bunch of rich, kind of snobby kids. She's kind of in with the in crowd. But the reason she's there is because she's super smart and she does their homework for them. And she doesn't have real relationships. So the whole world, that world that you see, this one world, is definitely the U.S. high school world. It's kind of the mean girls. It's the rich kids. It's all that stuff that I have lived through. I went to a high school like that. But then her place where she expands, the place where she can live. And her family's kind of a bit redneck. Her mother actually doesn't like her. So at night when she goes to sleep, she does this thing before she sleeps that isn't actually dreaming. She calls it flying. So in her head, she's able to go to a place where she goes to this long hallway, and the hallway has doors. And she has seen the hallway a few times, but this night she actually goes into a door and she discovers another world there. And in these doors, over the course of the novel, there are different realities. It's not like even within our same dimensions. It's like two separate books on a library case. Each one is like a book. So it's a completely different reality. Some of these are really dark, but she's capable of going there. And at some point she steps into one and actually meets someone. And this is Clovis. She can interact with him. She can talk to him. She can relate to him. And he doesn't have that weird reaction that she has with other people. She can let her shields down. She can be who she is. And that doesn't happen. The first time she meets him, though, it's within the guise of a particular story. And in that particular story, he's playing the role of someone who is dangerous. So, and I won't say more spoilers. So this her going back and forth between this world and her world within her high school, but also discovering who she is, why she is this way, why these things happen to her. And that's where the world starts to build out. You start to see it is not as it seems. Our world is not as it seems, which in reality is true. Like, we live in this with blinders on a lot of times about the world in general. If you look into any science, if you look into anything that's happening now in quantum, you're like, okay, we have no idea. We think we know, but we don't. So it's kind of her unmasking herself and learning who she is and learning what her purpose is. The beginning of the learning of what her purpose is. It takes a whole series for her to really learn her purpose and her interaction with him.
And this is book number 3, is it? Or 2?
Technically book number 2, but you can read them in the first 3. You can read in any order.
Interesting. So your main character, Amelie, and when you were describing her situation, it's like when you talk about young lady victims of assault, normally they always say, oh, it's their fault because of what they were wearing and what they were doing. That's similar to what she's going through, but she's literally got no control over it. So that's interesting.
Yeah. And it is taking things that can be quite extreme and playing them out for reasons why. Like I told you before, I'm very into discovering why on things. And that's a question I ask myself a lot. But one of the things I've had said to me often is that even though I talk about very difficult topics in my books, and I do, that I don't do that flippantly at all. I really much take into consideration how someone will feel reading it because of this. Some of the things I write about have happened to me. So I want people to read that and feel seen.
And you said you've got your trigger warnings, so people who may be impacted by the story have a chance to back out before they start reading, which is really good. I'm a huge fan of trigger warnings.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So what sort of time frame did you use on the different aspects of the story? So did you focus a lot on building her up to be who you needed her to be for the story, then you worked a lot on him, or did you sort of work it all out throughout building the narrative? So I think it was more from building the narrative. Like, I knew who she was and I knew what she wanted. I knew who he was. Like I said, I have movie dreams, and I've actually had a dream about his character, but I didn't really know what he wants. And that was actually part of what this whole story is about. Part of the arc of the series is her figuring out what he wants, because he is different. He is not like anything that she has encountered or most people have known about encountering. So it kind of happens almost naturally as you're trying to say, this is where they're going to go. I also very keen on writing places in a very realistic way. I like to put books in places I've been, and I've traveled a lot. And that's actually one of the things that drove me to write in the beginning, because I had this thought, I've had this real opportunity to see a lot of places.
and for periods of time. I remember I had this moment. I was in South Africa and we were driving to a recruiting meeting. We're on this highway and it was just beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. This swarm of green butterflies came over the highway and dodged its way around the cars.
Oof.
Did not get hit, and went to the other side of the highway. And I saw this and I thought, this is just like miraculous. And when I die, this dies. The memory of this vision dies. So if you can write it somewhere, if you can put it in a book somewhere, it lives when you're gone.
That's quite thoughtful. That's your attorney side coming out.
It absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. So, as you know, this is a podcast, so there's no video element. It's just what people can hear from your confident voice. So, talking about ALLi, and we discussed this, I explained the LARP aspect to her before the show. We're going to have ALLi come visit you in your office. It's up to you at this point whether she knows that you're her author or she could be coming to see you for another reason. This is not going to impact her story or the narrative that you've written for her. This is just a bit of a fun play.
Okay.
So in a minute,
okay,
just give yourself a second to center yourself and picture your character, and I'm going to knock on the door.
Hi, can I help you? Yeah, I'm here because I need some help about putting together my packet for school. I'm applying to a lot of colleges and I've actually done really well, but I want to make sure that I can afford to go to these places and that I won't have to bother too many people to get what I need. Sweetheart, it's fine. You're not going to bother anybody. We actually have a guidance counselor who no, I don't want to work with him. I don't want to work with him. I'd much rather work with you. Okay. I'm really just the receptionist. But if you want to, I can help you put some things together, and I can help you. Is there a reason you don't want to talk to the guidance counselor? No, I know you. You know, we talk, so I know you, and I think I'd just rather work with you on it. Okay, that's fine. I'll tell Mr. Scales that we'll do it, and Mr. Sawyer. I don't want to see Mr. Sawyer. That's fine. So what do you have? What have you collected so far? Have you written your applications for school? Yeah, I've written the applications, and I got my SATs back. How did you do on your SATs? I did really well. What I want to do is I really, really, really want to spend 1 year abroad before I actually get into schools, but I want to go to school abroad. Do you know where you want to go abroad? I was thinking maybe London, the UK, or maybe France. You take French, right? Yeah, I took French and I did really well in my classes, but I just want to make sure that I can do it with the money that I have because, you know, my family, I'm going to have to pay for it. I understand. Did you apply for scholarships? Yeah, I did. And I haven't heard back yet. So that's one of the things I kind of need help with figuring out who I need to talk to for the scholarships. Okay. The scholarship is handled usually by Mr. Sawyer. No, I'm sorry. Sweetie, do you want to talk to me about something? No, I'm fine. Really, I'm fine. I just, don't want to take people's time, and I don't want to be a bother because I know that he's really overworked, and I don't want to do that. So I just kind of need a little bit of direction. Like maybe if you have some people, some names, or how about I do this for you? You give me a list of the colleges that you're interested in, the universities you're interested in overseas, and I'll do some digging and see if I can find out contacts there for you. And we can go from there. Do you want me to tell anyone? No, it's fine. Like if it's a bother for you, or if you don't, ALLi, it's fine. I'll do that for you. Okay, thank you. I'll just come back this afternoon, okay?
Wow, that was so well done. People couldn't see that, but she was actually turning from side to side while she was doing the different character. So it's like when she was ALLi, she was facing to the left, and when she was herself, she was facing to the right. It was very, very cool. Very well done.
Thank you.
So what we wanted from that is to get a description of your office. So... So...
Okay, all right. You want me to describe my office? Because my office is horrible.
Yeah, we want to know what it's like to be in the creative space of, your writing.
So my office is, I have ADHD, so my office is a chaotic but mess that I understand. So I have my little room that is also a guest bedroom, and it's always there's stuff everywhere. I have two Coke cans here. I have costumes all over the place because we do Comic-Con. And I have my general environment bookcase over here, some like a screen in the back of me so that I can put that up on the window. My window opens on the back to some beautiful Parisian architecture in a courtyard. So that's actually really nice. And I live a stone's throw from Trocadero, which is a place where you can see the Eiffel Tower. So we're in a very nice neighborhood here, but it's got that old architecture. So I have that, but to be honest, I rarely look at it. Most of what I do is on my screen. I write on my screen. I craft on my screen, but I do walk around the house. As a writer, I don't know about you, but as a writer, I have to move. So I'll get stuck in a little place I'm writing and I'll start walking through the house, which is why I need the house to be empty when I'm writing. And I chase my husband and my kids away.
Well, they've got a nice city to go see.
That's true.
Go check out Mona Lisa's smile again and see if it's any different today.
Exactly.
That'll get them out of the house for 4 or 5 hours while they wait in line.
No, exactly. More than that after with transport and everything. It was interesting because in London, it takes you about 45 minutes to get anywhere in London, right? We live there too, and we're moving back there. In Paris, it takes you roughly the same time, even though the distances are smaller, because everything is a bit chaotic. This is a city that is really beautiful, but has this kind of chaos. There's always a strike. There's always something that's gone wrong. You do not go out of the house without encountering at least 2 things that are broken in your transport. So you have to build in more time for that. But I've also, because of that, with transport, I walk most places.
It's good for you too.
It is good for me, yeah.
You're forced exercise.
Yeah, exactly. Because the gym is not happening.
Okay, so while you're doing you said you have ADHD a few times. So while you're doing your world development, do you get distracted by side quests a lot?
All the time. But because the ADHD thing, because this is my family has helped me make this passion. It is my passion. And because of that, it's easier to focus on. But what I have to do is create passion plus urgency. So, and I discovered this when I write. If I sit down and go, I'm going to write today, that may or may not happen. If I sit down and say, I need to get this done because Seb is going to see it, so I need to get it done by tomorrow afternoon, then I have that urgency built in. I've created it myself, but it's there and it acts as a motivator. So that's something that absolutely works. I did that a week ago with my latest novel. I'd been hovering over the last 3 chapters for 2 months. And finally, I told myself, before I go to London, because I'm going to London to meet reviewers that I know, I said, before I go, I'm going to have this done. And so I created that's my urgency thing. And I finished the last 3 chapters in 3 days. So I'm capable of that hyper focus because with ADHD, you're capable of that. But I have to create that artificial sense of urgency. My son is my developmental partner. He's my accountability person, right?
That's good to have someone so close by. Okay, so how much of yourself do you think you're putting into your characters? You've said that you've had them go through some of the things that you have in your past, which would make them more in-depth and engaging, I'm sure, to read. So how much of yourself in general, like your personality traits and everything, do you think you're putting into your characters?
I think I put in to my characters things I've lived through a lot of times, and that then drives personality traits for them. Whereas for me, there's a lot of different things, a lot of different activities, a lot of different things that happen to me. So rather than trying to replicate myself, I will try and replicate one element, or I will say, this is something that I went through, so I'm going to do that. And how would this person with these different characteristics react to it? Because their situation's not exactly like mine. So I absolutely pirate myself. I also pirate other people, characters for friends of mine. There's a character in Caio. Her name is Valerie. She's very much patterned on 3 of my friends in characteristics, behavior, etc. So I I always say it, we used to say at work, amateurs copy, professionals steal, right? So I just actively, go, what trait do I like about you? All right, I'm taking that, right, sort of thing.
I used to be a safety advisor, and that was a motto that we followed too.
Really?
If the wheel's not broken, you don't need to fix it.
No, exactly.
How much of your reality has bled into the world that you've built? It's fairly contemporary, isn't it? Yeah,
it is. It is. It's all, well, up to this point. There's a book after this book that's actually set in a very different time period. But it's mostly in the 1900s and 2000s. So we've got World War II at some point. And then we have 2032, I think is where So it's like in this time range, but there's one that goes back.
How much of your reality has bled into the world built?
In this series, I've actually kind of looked at the concept of biocentrism, which is the notion that consciousness makes reality rather than reality making consciousness. And I found that this interaction between my reality and what I create has become very weird and connected. I'll give you an example. It doesn't sound like it makes much sense until I give an example. So for the book, Fanning Fireflies, I set in World War II. So I said, all right, I'm going to create these two characters. The main female character in it is kind of a bit like my mother, has characteristics of my mother. And for the male character, the African-American soldier, I pulled pieces of him from people that I've known. But when I crafted out the story, I was like, okay, this is going to happen, this is going to happen, this is going to happen. At some point, he goes to war. And I crafted what happened to him at these particular places. Didn't do any research at this point. It was just plotting out the story. And I gave him the name Laszlo Fox, because Fox Mulder for the last name, and Laszlo because I'd heard it somewhere at some point when I was younger. And I went through and I wrote the story. And then at the end, I went through to do the nitpicky detail stuff, and which I do. If someone picks up a menu in a book and buys something, I have to know that it was the right price and that they would have had that on the menu. I do that level of detail stuff. And particularly if it's historical fiction, you need to make sure that you're grounded. And the character of Laszlo goes through these cities in France, and then he ends up later, he gets some award later. There was an actual guy whose last name was Fox who went to all these exact same places and the same thing happened to him. I did not know this. So then I'm left with the question, did I intuit that somewhere? Did someone say something when I was a kid, but not with that detail? Was there a ghost over my shoulder talking to me as I was writing? Did I make that? So you kind of, there's this weird connection for me, always has been, between what I write and then reality. And I don't understand it, but it makes life very interesting.
It's like a reverse confirmation bias.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Interesting. So if you could bring something from your world into our reality, what do you think it would be and why?
There's so much.
You're already past 17, so you can't have the permanent 17 pause.
Yeah. I think it would be the knowledge of what comes after death.
Is that a certainty in your stories?
Yes, it is.
Oh, interesting. That would free a lot of people up, I think.
Yeah, exactly. And that's actually one of the things that the characters talk about in the story is one of the characters, Maja, I just finished writing a book about her, makes the comment, they ask if she believes in a God, and she says, not one that is actively involved in life, because then why would any loving sentient being give their children or their creations the knowledge that they will die and without information of what happens afterwards? That's a form of torture. So it's kind of this, there's a lot of conversations about that kind of thing within the series.
It sounds incredibly thought-provoking.
Thank you.
Your stories.
I hope so.
Yeah.
I hope so.
That's what you're going for.
I'm going for thought. I think my books are really good book club books. So I hope that they kind of drift into those groups. It's kind of informally happening in that a lot of the people who review my books know each other and they've started talking about it externally, and I hear about it. They'll come back with a question to me. But I think pretty much everything I've written is good for book club.
So what lessons do you think you've learned? What's been the most impactful lessons you've learned while creating your world?
I think about world building is that you don't know the answers. When you first start writing in the world, even if you've crafted and created the world, you don't know everything because you've only approached the world through the perception of the characters that you have. And I've thought about that some, because I remember one time someone was talking to J.K. Rowling about, were there any Jewish people at Hogwarts? And she was like, yes, there was this guy that, and she clearly just kind of pulled something out of her head, right? Where I think the answer to that question would be, I don't know yet because I haven't looked. It's this whole world that you're walking in your head. If you haven't been to a section or there's large sections, you won't know. So I think I've learned that even though I've crafted it really well and with a lot of detail, I don't know everything. And so if someone asks me a question, I may have to go think that out. I might have to look around in my world in my head to see, is that true? Is it not? What would the answer to that be? Because sometimes the answer is, I don't know.
That's a good solid answer, and it stops you from digging a hole that you might not be able to crawl out of.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. That's all of our world building questions for today. You were saying that the book we're putting into the treasure chest is
Bright Midnights.
And the password is Flint. I think we've explained it enough in the 2 interviews, what's happening in that story. We're going to have a pause to have a word from our sponsor. Bushland Castle Productions is seeking the scrivener of the Catalyst Scroll. Could it be you? Have you captured a moment that changed everything? Can that one idea set you apart? It is time to invest in your creativity. No prompts, no hand-holding, just 1,500 words and a blind judging contest. The Catalyst Scroll is a creative challenge that is not about the aftermath. It's about the moment of ignition that sparks something new. One entry will rise above the rest. not by chance, but by what's put on the page. Visit bushlandcastleproductions.com and step up to the mounting block. Okay, time for our fast fire questions. Is your fictional world photogenic?
Yes, very.
Do you wear socks with Ugg boots?
No.
Oh, thank goodness. Would you rather fight a bear-sized chicken or 10 chicken-sized bears?
10 chicken-sized bears.
Would you rather immortality and no magic or magic at the cost of your lifespan?
Immortality and no magic.
Would you read your own books for pleasure?
Yes.
Very nice. That were quick ones. You had those answers at the ready.
Yeah, they were something that I've already thought about.
So the next section is linking to ALLi. It's where I ask burning questions that stop me from moving forward with my world build in hopes that you can impart sage advice to help me overcome it. And I've opened the questions up to the Finding ALLi community, the Shadow Lair, and the Finding ALLi Discord page. And I've got a few here for you. So the first one is from Gary. He asked, of all places she's been, which was her favourite and where hasn't she been that she would like to visit?
So I don't have a place that I like the most because every place has something, right? And what's really cool about being an expatriate in countries where you're going to be there for a couple of years and then you know you're going to leave is that you know you only have a limited amount of time, going back to the time concept. And so you tend to do more. You do all those things that if you lived in a place you might not do. I lived in DC for a while, never went to the White House because I didn't know I would be leaving. But we know we have a very constrained thing. I research and figure out what do they do better here than anywhere else, and let's do that thing. So for example, when we moved to France, there's all this cheese here and all these croissants and all this pastry, but I can't eat this stuff because I'm celiac. And so my children decided they wanted to go to cooking school. So they did. They went to Alain Ducasse here and they took classes in how to make pastries that are gluten-free. And they learned. So that's something that France does probably better than anywhere else that we've seen. And the downside of France, there's positives and negatives, right? The downside of France is that everything takes longer. Just from a structural perspective, everything just takes longer. In the UK, they learned music and they learned theater. So both of them play instruments. They were in a band. They did music at pubs, even when they were teeny tiny. And then they did stage work, did stuff on stage. So I think rather than saying there is a favorite place, it's more what was my favorite thing in that place. That being said, where we're going to start putting down roots is London.
And the second part of the question is, where haven't you been that you'd like to visit?
Galapagos.
Islands?
Yep.
That was just off the cuff. Why Galapagos?
I've been planning to try and do a trip like that since I was like 20. I've always wanted to see it because of the background with Darwin. And it's just, to me, that seems like such a magical, contained place that I really just always wanted to see it.
Amazing. The next question is from Jules. How much life as an army brat makes it into her books?
I think the movement of the characters. So I have the characters in different places. And in a way, the concept of the hallway from Bright Midnights comes from things I've seen and moving around a lot. It also, in a way, impacted the character of Clovis, the development of the character of Clovis, because of how he views time and how he views time spent. So because of the nature of who and what he is, he has to survive it emotionally and psychologically, he has to live in the moment. And he actually talks about living in the moment as opposed to looking too forward or looking back, because in his case, that creates real psychological difficulties.
The next one is from Heather. How much of what she saw as a lawyer fit into her characterizations of people?
A lot. The legal storyline in Caio, that came from things that happened within the law firm that I was at. And that was actually the reason I left family law.
Family law would be tragic.
It was. Yeah. It is soul destroying.
And the question from me is, I'm just so fascinated with Clovis. So if you were to choose an age where you could be frozen, what age would it be and why?
Now. It would be now. Because I like what I've been through. I wouldn't want to go through that again, a lot of things again, but I like what I've been through. I like what it's taught me. I like what happens as you get older. I like what happens with your brain, the perspective that you have, which really changes. I like feeling more comfortable with myself. So probably now.
That's so beautiful. If people want to carry on the conversation with you, where best can they do that?
I'm very heavy on social media. Instagram's the best, and I'm LS_Delorme.
And you have a website, which is lsdelorme.com.
Correct.
And where is that video of the...
Oh, it's on YouTube. So I have an LS Delorme account on YouTube. There's not much on it. There's a few things of me talking, but there's also the video.
Yes. We'll have to get the link to that and I'll put it in the show notes.
Cool.
Thank you so much for coming on today. It's been a blast.
Oh, thank you. It's been really interesting.
I can legitimately say I'm very much looking forward to getting your book books.
Oh, thank you. Oh, I'll tell you the story, so you can tell me if you want me to actually say this at some point, but about why I ended up in indie. So my first book, Caio, the book opens with a kid who's in Brazil in 1905 who gets thrown into a hole to die. He was a slave. And he gets infected by worms. You don't find out at that moment, but you find out in the back. He doesn't die. They pull him out of the hole, and that's what you see. The next chapter then goes into a woman who's in her 40s, who's a paralegal at a law firm in an abusive relationship. And then she sees this person in current day on a basketball court. What has happened in the story is that he's actually been infected by worms that actually exist in South America that don't have the gene for aging. So he had mitochondrial gene transfer, and he just stopped aging. So it's someone who looks to be about 17, but has spent his whole life this whole time. So he's like 130 something. So the themes of the book were appearance versus reality. That's because I feel like in the world we're living in today, so much is focused on appearance with social media, right? And you don't see as much of the reality. You don't see in people and situations. Everything is like a 20-second clip. So I wanted to look at that thematically. And the first place I sent it to was a traditional publisher, was a romance publisher. And they said, we love the book. It's great. You have to change his age. And I was like, from 135?
But you can't.
Yeah. It's like, from 135? What? No, he has to appear older. Why? Well, he just has to. Okay, that kind of kills the point of the book. It's got a parallel legal thing happening. So I was like, we're not going to do this. And that's where I started looking at their contracts. And the contracts are awful from some of these people. Like, it's like you're only getting 6% of profits. They spend 85% of their marketing dollars on 5% of their authors. You're expected to buy copies of your own books. I mean, all this stuff is like, as a lawyer, I'm going through it going, no. So I was like, and plus you get control over the characters and rights going forward if you get optioned. So I went to second place in California. I thought, okay, they're going to be, it was fine, going well, until one girl flipped out about, once again, the appearance of an age difference. And the CEO of that company sent me this long, impassioned email about how it's a conversion for this woman, Sarah. Their relationship is beautiful, and it's like, it's sacred. And having it their ages look different is like having a 3-course meal in a toilet. And I went, you are clearly missing the point here, clearly. So then the one that tipped me over to we're doing this ourselves, was I was having a conversation with a guy from a very big publishing house in New York. I was on Zoom, my son was on Zoom. And he goes, well, the appearance of age difference isn't really a problem. I mean, and plus, people read Twilight and he was much older than me. It's like, he goes, that doesn't really bother me. What bothered me is, I don't know how to say it. It's just unbecoming for a woman in her 40s to still have sexual feelings.
What?
He said this out loud. I said, you do realize you just said the quiet part out loud. And he was like, I think a lot of the people in the heartland would agree with me. My son's doing this on my back, right? And I went, I have to ask you, how old are you? He's like, 48. Uh-huh. And do you have a partner? Yeah. And he doesn't even see where I'm going with this, right? And I was like, at that point, I'm like, I'm just gobsmacked, right? I have no idea how to even respond to this at this point. The part of me, the lawyer part of me, is wanting to destroy him, right? The woman part of me is wanting to insult in as many possible ways as I can. And I thought, this is what comes from having the trades run by 7 white guys in their 80s, right? So I said to him, I said, I'm a lawyer. My husband's in marketing. My kids are super talented. We will do this ourselves.
Yeah, just wow.
Yeah. Let me tell you another horrifying story of things that happened to me. So just recently. So in 2012, I put out this little book that was called An Expat Mom's Guide to Disneyland Paris. It was on my personal email account through KDP. It sold like 5 copies. It was really designed for my friends to be able to take it to Disney with them. And I stopped thinking about it. So this summer, suddenly Amazon tells me that my accounts are terminated.
Oh, no.
Terminated. It took me forever to realize what happened. So what had happened is this woman from this publishing company called Adventure Keen, and they're not small. They're like 25 million. They're not huge, but they're still significant, $25 million company. She had trademarked the phrase unofficial guide, which is not, also, I did this kind of legal work. I don't know how she got away with that, because that doesn't go against what trademark is designed to do. So trademark's supposed to prevent other people from thinking it's you, right? Or to avoid you saying shit stuff. So I don't know how she got this trademark, but she called them and complained to Amazon. And Amazon just fell because they're putting out a guide next year called The Unofficial Guide to Disneyland. And she's just blanket going through with everybody who's written a book that says Unofficial Guide in Disneyland and complaining to Amazon. So not only did they black out that account, also they did my author account, my fiction account. So I'm fighting with them through a lot of different people, but it's made me go, honestly, I don't do most of my sales through Amazon. There's too much noise there. Most of my sales come from either Comic-Cons or in person or via social media, right? It doesn't really come from Amazon.
Are they on your website as well? You buy them directly through your website?
Yeah. And also, it's available at Waterstones. It's available on Apple as an ebook. It's available at Barnes and Nobles. It's in a lot of different stores. You can get it. But the thing with Amazon is they've so much cornered the market on this stuff, and people think that's the only option. But it really isn't. Because of that, they really screw people over. One of my readers said a bunch of fraudulent charges came through. She's not wealthy, and they basically, charged her about $3,000, and she's having to fight with them to get her money back. And they have, they have this huge legal team. They don't even talk to you. They have different segments. I mean, even as an attorney, I find it difficult to fight with them. But I've gotten people involved. Now it's just on principle, right, for me. Mm. But that's sort of what happens when everything becomes incorporated at a big scale, right? You don't people don't see the individual authors. The individual authors don't have a relationship with people. Even the process for getting a book into the publishers. First, I describe it as from a business perspective, it's like compliance in a big company. So in a big company, you have compliance and you have legal. And compliance usually aren't actually attorneys. They're usually people who do organizational stuff or they know something about legal, but they're rarely actually attorneys. And because of that, it's just like literary agents. Because of that, they are most comfortable saying no. Because if they say yes and something goes wrong, then they're in trouble. So they're really only inclined to say no. But you get to actual legal, the legal people will go, well, yeah, here's the level of risk involved with what you're going to do. If it's probably illegal, but the only person who has that affects is you, fine, knock yourself out, right? If it's very small, but the company will go down, over my dead body. But the legal people can do that, but the compliance people don't have that breadth to do it. And that's what literary agents feel like that to me. They don't really know what anybody's going to want because nobody really knows what anybody's going to want. They don't know the next big thing. So they're always looking for what was the last big thing. And then they're the funnel. They make decisions by committee. They're the funnel into the large publishing agencies who also make decisions by committee. It's not good for individual authors.
It's not.
So
it's not. And I was brought up with Hallmark movies.
Yeah.
And I thought it was some beautiful dream. Yeah. It's just not. If you would like to carry on the conversation with Lexi, then she has her own website, lsdelorme.com. She's also on Instagram and TikTok. If you would like to get in touch with myself or the team at Bushland Castle Productions, then you can head on over to the website, bushlandcastleproductions.com. If you'd like to know more about the show, its guests, and receive exclusive content, consider joining the Shadow Lair. Head on over to ko-fi.com/findingalara. That's ko-fi.com/findingalara, where $5 a month will take you behind the scenes. All the details are in the show notes. So there were many conversational jewels in that little chat that I had. 3 things that stood out for me is when she said, I think we all, in fiction, particularly if you're writing fiction, you're writing in a way to answer your own questions. I like that because I think it just really rung true for me. I also like the way she spoke about how the characters drive her world building and that she likes to get into the micro level and build up from there. The last point was when she was saying she can only see what the characters can. Treasure chest update. In the treasure chest, we have 1 copy of Lexi's book, Bright Midnights, which is a YA dream thriller following a magnetic girl caught between dimensions. We have 1 totally awesome tote bag with a bookmark, a magnet, and a signed copy of The Swell, which has the hook, Finding Love in the Emergency Room, where every heartbeat matters. We also have 2 Season 3 Finding ALLi coffee cups. So that's 4 down and 26 to go. This is going to be a big list by the end of this season, so make sure that you get your name into the draw. Next episode, I'm going to talk with Michaela Stevens. Thank you for listening to the show. I really appreciate the support and encouragement I've been receiving lately. If you enjoyed listening to Finding Alara, have any questions, or just want to share your world with us, then please get in touch. Until next time, keep up the search for your Alara.